Hello, my name is Tylluan. I'm a solitary pagan witch. I'm an author and the founder of the Wolf and Howl Press. And today's little talk is about magical tools. What sort of tools should we have? Do we need any? And how do we use them? I'm not a great fan of magical tools. I grew up in an era where the only tools you were ever likely to have were things you made yourself. And often, sometimes you use stuff. Looking back on it, nobody would do it now because, of course, there's a big industry has grown up around making these lovely wands and lovely staffs and this and that. And it's beautiful and it's wonderful to have it and it's inspiring. But I do wonder sometimes how much of it just goes home and sits upon the mantelpiece. I think sometimes some of the most magical and wonderful stuff we can make are the things we make from found objects, pieces of stick that take our fancy, little ideas. So that's one thing. We can't all be craftsmen, we can't all be brilliant at this, but I think sometimes it's nice to make our own. And the reason why, it's a little bit like the preparation for a spell, the reason why we make our own is because when you create something, you put something of yourself into it, and that's what you want with a magical tool. For example, a magic wand. We'll call it a magic wand. A stick, let's face it, it's a stick. It's meant to be about so long. Well, you could use a conductor's baton, No reason you couldn't. If that's all you had to hand, you could use it. But you could also just use your finger and your hand. In fact, for me, I tend only to use my breath. And sometimes a staff. I do like a staff. And that may be because I use a walking stick to get about. So perhaps it feels more natural to me. But I think when you're using tools in your magic, whatever they are, don't be made to feel you must have this. You must have the 4 quarters. You must cast a circle. You must have rose quartz or amethyst here or there. You must have a certain type of robe. You must work I was going to say star-clad. That's not the word, is it? Sky-clad, naked. You mustn't do anything unless you feel comfortable with it. That's one of the most important pieces of advice I can give you. The idea that somehow you use a wand, well, I don't think your average witch has to have a wand. Not unless she really wants one. If you want one, fine. Mr. Penry's made some gorgeous wands, and sometimes I've used some of them, and sometimes I haven't. Doesn't matter. It's what you feel comfortable with. And I think this is the thing. If you're going to have a magical tool, you need to work with it and see what can you do with it. What can you make? It's a bit like having a cauldron. Now, if we could turn the camera around, you could see that I do have a full-sized, very old cauldron sitting in my corner over there. It's huge, big iron thing. Now, I have seen no end of people put a candle in a cauldron. And to me, I'm sitting there thinking, no, the heat goes outside. Because that's the way I do it. Now, if you really feel you must have heat inside your cauldron, well, fine, put a candle in it, heat or light or what have you. But know why you're doing it. I mean, for me, the heat, the fire, the light all goes outside the cauldron. In fact, these days, without having a real fire in the house anymore, I have less and less use for my cauldron because I can't use it the way I'd like to, the way I wanted to, the way I used to. And in the same way, I think, everything we use, when you think of it, what do we have a tool for? We have a tool to make a job easier. We have a hammer because we simply cannot make a fist of our hand and knock a nail in. We have a screwdriver because our fingernails would very soon break if we tried to twist a screw into a piece of wood. And in the same way, we have a magic wand to help concentrate and propel our magical powers out into the world. But if we don't think that way, and if the wand won't do it for whatever reason, if it's unsuitable, you might as well put it away. I beg your pardon, I've got a very croaky throat today. So, when you have tools, think what you would like. Because sometimes the tools that work for us best are not the tools we think. They're not the tools that other people have. You may find your very best tool is a necklace. I love my, can't see it very well, I love my amber necklace. To me that's tremendously powerful, tremendously part of my path. Something I feel comfortable wearing. You may be like that. You may find, well, I would rather have a necklace than a wand. Necklaces are very protective. And I think whatever you use, whatever you do, the important thing is to feel comfortable, to feel you're engaging with it, to feel that it's a very necessary part of what you're doing, like the hammer. You can't do the job unless you have the hammer. You can't cut the wood unless you have a saw. It's got to be the right type of saw for the job in hand. And in the same way, you've got to have the right tool magically to do what you want. And that's going to differ for everyone. Not everyone's going to see it in the same way. So don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to strike out on your own and give it a go. As I say, I like a staff. I can do anything I want to do with a staff. I'm quite happy with it. Some people prefer other things. You may be one of them. The important thing is to give it a try. Give it your best shot. And I really am sorry about these bees and flies and everything else that's around here today. It's unbelievable. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, and I hope you found it helpful. Goodbye.